I don't think that the connection and all the stories that I have heard do not tell me that the connection that we have with the Latte was ever broken.
Bonito pogo, bonito sa mandanyay maranas. Disti wahon stay sangkatan na isla. Jadi bonitonya pogo ako masyadi. Atsu lati ako nit jana pandanit, no. Jadi minago fu pogo.
The Latte stone itself is part of us. You know, you see Latte stone anywhere, and you know that it's the Marianas. You see a hat with Latte stone, like my husband. You see a shirt with Latte stone. You see a car in the States or here and anywhere, and you see a Latte stone. Hey, CHamoru iti. Tilingnya oh CHamoru Saipan na CHamoru Guam. It's CHamoru.
Atahinahin ni hatihan si Diyos maasik mahalo manguay zado namin ton mamin in agradesin in adahin mizu da in tatadzo bendisyon minago minaasik dan maasiin mamin in ofresi lokwi na bayan kontinuang gumalamtini tomorrow itengkas mami sa mantat hinasuham sa manay gwi itengkas mami sa mas preciso itataw-taw gwelong zan gwelan mami isagan azuraham mula dinanti mo na iman malopan at tahinihin ni hatihan si Diyos maasin
The name Hans Hornbostel, so many people have been asking and so many people have been commenting online, where did these Latte come from? How were they taken? And our Magahaga, our Segundo Magalahi have been talking a little bit about that, and let me share a little bit more. There is a Navy officer named Thompson who starts taking Latte from the Marianas and sending them to the Bishop Museum. Then Hans Hornbostel, who takes over that job, and not only takes Latte, but also digs up burials, hundreds of burials across the Marianas. And when I say digs up burials, I mean that he goes into caves, he digs up around Latte sites, and then he arranges skulls and takes pictures of himself behind the skulls and sends it off to newspapers so that he can get more attention for himself and the great archaeological work that he is doing. Now, the Bishop Museum in 1920s were very interested in what he had to offer, but eventually, by the 1930s, the collection that Hornbostel had sent over was appalling. 10,000 plus pieces, 300 burials. It was enormous. Why had he taken so much? To give you some perspective, a Bishop Museum curator came 10 years after the Latte and Hornbostel collected artifacts from the Marianas, and he took a few dozen artifacts, took notes, and you can find the names of the Chamorros who made the things that he took. And there's detailed notes in the Bishop Museum and records today about where they came from. Hornbostel just dug them up, put them in crates, and sent them off. Quantity over quality. And so some people might say that our connection to this collection was severed, it was broken. But that was definitely not true. All the way up until the 1970s, the Latte are on display at the Bishop Museum campus. And there are stories of Chamorros serving at Pearl Harbor, Chamorros attending college, Chamorros who are just passing through in Hawaii, who asked the Bishop Museum staff, why are these here? Is it okay that these are here? And then, is the Tautomona going to get you? Are you going to get in trouble? These shouldn't be here. It's not right that these are here. Chamorros asked questions when they saw things at the Bishop Museum on display from Hornbostel's collection. Why is this here? How did it get here? Pottery pieces, a pictograph, a cave drawing that Hans Hornbostel had carved out of a wall in Talafofo, chiseled out of the wall. And if you go down to Talafofo at Asquiroga Cave, you can still see the marks that were made. And whenever it was put on display, and people at the Bishop Museum who worked there tell the story up until today that whenever it was put on display and Chamorros would see it who were familiar with cave drawings at Gadau's Cave or others, they would say, hey, is it okay that this is here? This shouldn't be here. This shouldn't be here. And so in the 1970s, the Bishop Museum underwent a renovation, and the Latte you see behind me were put behind the museum. In the 80s and 90s and 2000s, there would be stories that there was Latte at the Bishop Museum, and people would go and ask and say, we heard there's like Latte from Guam here. But people at the Bishop Museum would say, oh, I don't know. There used to be, but we don't know where they are anymore. In 2022, me, Nicole Dueñas from the repository, Elyssa Santos, who's getting her PhD at UH Manoa right now, and then three of Imanyat Lutag and Elyssa Mai, we were in a museum studies program in Hawaii. And so we went to the Bishop Museum and they said, oh, here are the Latte. But when we saw the Latte, it wasn't all of the Latte.
So they brought us back here to show us where the Latte were actually laid. So they were laying here, and while we were looking at the Latte, they were on display here, my husband came and he was like, hey, from my upbringing and my knowledge, when there's a Latte, the haligi and the tasa should always be together. And I'm like, well, we've been here twice, or third time, and this is it. This is what they keep showing us.
The first thing I noticed on the Latte stone laying down was the big aligi, which is the bottom of the Latte stone. And then I asked my wife, I said, where's the tasa? The tasa should be together. And then nobody knows. I guess the staff of Bishop Museum,
The trainers.
yeah, the trainers, they have no idea that it comes with another piece. I said, no. It usually comes with two pieces. Latte stone comes with two pieces, the aligi and then the tasa. So as soon as they said, no, there's none, that's when I just turned around and I felt this guided all the way down the alley, I was looking on the right side, which is a bunch of debris, but I just kind of like felt that somebody's pulling me and says, no, I'm here. I say, wait. I'll finish this side and then I'll come to the other side, right?
If you've ever heard of the Hawaiian taboo rocks, where people take rocks from Hawaii, the volcanic rocks, and then they return them to Hawaii because they think a curse has been put on them. So there's a big pile of those rocks at the Bishop Museum. The Latte were put in an area right next to those rocks. They were put in an area right next to a construction heap, right next to a trash pile.
As soon as I reach here, it's like it's pulling me to see, and it's just standing right there or laying right there, and it was covered with debris, other debris, grass and flowers that were growing on it. So I only can see a small amount of the surface, and it's identical surface as the aligi. And then I was excited, kind of like relief that I found the missing piece.
We didn't know, nobody knew. It was there, upside down, toppled for so many years, and nobody knew what it was. And so we came out, he stayed there, he started cleaning everything, he was removing all the overgrown grass, the vines, and we were all in tears, like we were like, wow, how could something so sacred to us, be at an area like that, and so I'm really thankful that today's ceremony happened, and I'm thankful that the Bishop Museum did what was right for us, for our Maranas, for our people, and most importantly, to give respect to our Latte stones,
Di man CHamoru ni man malago man mabindisi dati panhawon.
I guess we can consider it like the culminating event of all the work that's been done. And when I say work, I mean those that have been done, even generations before us. We know that the Hornbostel collection, or what is known as the Hornbostel collection, was extracted from the Marianas in the 1920s. And over time, since the 1950s, later on in the 1990s, right, folks from Guam have been trying to repatriate this collection, meaning return it back home. In the past, some efforts were successful and some weren't, including like the return of our ancestral remains. However, these Latte are kind of like a part of the remaining collection, which is also inclusive of CHamoru ancestral weaponry, unfortunately, cave art that was also stolen, and a bunch of other cultural implements. So, like, the Latte are clearly the most massive and perhaps the most challenging to return when the time comes. They were unfortunately neglected over time here at the Bishop. You can see some of them have rebar through them or they've been cemented over, and so they've taken a beating, but we've since worked with the Bishop to relocate them to a site that really honors them and kind of places them front and center. We've cleaned them. A bunch of CHamoru students at the University of Hawaii have given their times 2 weeks over the spring break. That time that could have been used for rest, they came and we continued to clean the Latte. So this is like the culminating event of all of these efforts by our Bishop staff and by the Chamorro community here, who have been giving their offerings in various forms and at different times up until the time of FestPac. There's sort of two goals, right? We had the short-term goal of presenting them to the community for FestPac, and then the long-term goal is obviously to get them home and to care for them until then.
The Latte stones are known for its strength, just like we Chamorros are. Latte stones have survived through thousands of years, just like we as a Chamorro have. And we will continue to thrive and survive and sustain our culture and preserve all the values of our ancestral history, story, and the making of us as a Chamorro.
I'm always astounded when I see Latte in the jungle, when I think back on what our people endured and just this great physical feat, not only to carve the Latte, but to install them and to, make them be a symbol of our culture. I mean, we had so many hands on deck out here in the lawn, heavy equipment and the like. It was no small endeavor. And every time that our team took a break in this hot sun, I think all of us were reflecting on what this was like thousands of years ago.
This moment is not only a culmination of a multi-year interinstitutional collaboration, but a victory in the decades-long pursuit by Chamorros, who raised their voices as early as the 1930s, calling for the reclamation of pieces tied to their ancestry. It is notable that the last successful repatriation for Guam was nearly a quarter century ago on August 22nd, 2000, when 311 ancient Chamorro skeletal remains were returned home to Guam. Today's ceremony highlights the commitment to the rematriation of artifacts to their rightful homelands and their indigenous Chamorro communities. Rematriation, as opposed to repatriation, is focused on restoring the relationship between an indigenous people and the culture and land of their ancestors.
We're in a different Guam. We are a different people in a lot of ways, but the spirit of the CHamoru people continues on, and these are more than just symbols. They are manifestations of our identity. They are ways for our children to connect. This is a big part of why we chose this location out in the Skinner Plaza. I'll be very candid with you. There are several people who approached me and said that they didn't like this space because who's gonna police the Latte? And my response is you, us. I'm very confident that our people understand what these Latte mean to us and that we will be the guardians of these Latte. And so I encourage all of you to invite your friends, your family to be here, to connect with these Latte, these very important symbols of our history, but also invite them to take part in the active protection of these Latte. These Latte have been gone for over 100 years. It's a blessing that they are here, and it is our responsibility to protect them for our children. I want to thank all the young Chamorro kids that are here today to celebrate with us. We did this especially for you.
Luisa.